This is our first oversight and legislative hearing on the Bureau of Reclamation's implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure law and to receive testimony on Western water legislation. We know temperatures are going through the stratosphere at home in Oregon, across the West, and we've got huge challenges with drought, covering nearly a quarter of the country and affecting 90 million people. So access to water is not some abstract, distant kind of issue. This is, for communities from sea to shining sea, urgent priority business. And I want to make clear that I want to work with every member of this subcommittee so that people in communities who face difficulty accessing water see that we are responding in a bipartisan way to them. And as I've discussed with a number of colleagues on the Democratic side, and I just mentioned it to Senator Risch, we want to work with other relevant committees in the Congress to address the full scope of water issues, because the challenge doesn't just stop at the border of every subcommittee or committee's jurisdiction. Today we're going to look at issues facing the Bureau of Reclamation. Some of the bills attempt to advance federal water policy to promote climate resiliency through what I think have the potential to be innovative policy solutions. The bills on today's agenda also call for more investment in more resilient and robust infrastructure in surface, groundwater and natural storage, water recycling, and reuse. Now, with help from the Congress, $8.3 billion was invested through the bipartisan infrastructure law, and another $4.6 billion with the Inflation Reduction Act in Western water infrastructure and drought mitigation, and in programs that address fish recovery, habitat restoration, and the environment. So with the magnitude of this problem in front of us, it's important to make sure the Bureau of Reclamation maximizes the potential of what are very substantial investments. We've got 16 bills on the agenda, 8 bills that address broad Western water authorities and programs through the Department of Interior, and several bills that are important to a number of our colleagues that address issues in a particular state or at a specific Bureau of Reclamation project. We also have hydropower permitting reform that I think Senator Risch remembers. This has always been a big issue for us in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to have members making opening remarks, just touch on a couple of our Northwest issues. Senator Merkley, the Water for Conservation and Farming Act, the Watershed Results Act, and the Klamath Power and Facilities Agreement Support Act. In Oregon, communities throughout the state, including the Klamath and Deschutes Basin, are suffering through another really devastating drought year, made worse with the threats of wildfire and extreme heat. As the pressure continues to mount, it's essential to get high-impact water projects on the ground and fast. That's what my Watershed Results Act is about. We use the best available science and expertise to identify the most cost-effective approaches for dealing with watersheds. Second, our Water for Conservation and Farming Act helps communities plan and better prepare for increased demand for clean water by funding projects that improve dam safety, improve the resiliency of watersheds, and benefit agricultural and urban water users. I just came off 7 rural town hall meetings, in fact, starting in Idaho. I would say to Senator Risch, and making my way westward, and these are really, for a lot of our communities, these are survival kinds of issues. Finally, we'll also hear the Klamath Power and Facilities Agreement Support Act, which addresses the needs of communities in the Klamath Basin by authorizing programs to conserve water and reduce the impact of fish and restore habitat in the basin. It also gives the reclamation the authorities necessary to carry out the Klamath Power and Facilities Agreement related to Keno and Link River dams. I want to thank all the sponsors for their involvement. Look forward to hearing from them. And let's turn it over to Senator Risch for his first opening remarks on the subcommittee as the ranking member.